Hello everyone, welcome. So today I have another traveler's notebook for you, and this one is something that is relatively new, available on Amazon, and we'll review what comes with it in its little bundle, whether I think it's a good value, what fits inside it, what else you can get away with using other than the inserts that come with it, and how it compares to a very similar, very popular traveler's notebook that has been around for years and years. So I will, as per usual, put links in the description in case you would like to get something from here for yourself or a gift for someone else. And I will also put timestamps in the first pinned comment if you'd like to jump back and forth between the sections. So this is called Eaasty, E-A-A-S-T-Y. And I find it fascinating because it is very similar to a Newestor or September Leather Traveler's Notebook, but there are a couple of really important differences. So it's a bundle. It comes with 2 extra bands, which are always very helpful, nice to have around. And because an A5 and a standard are the same height, you can use these in your A5 Traveler's Notebooks and in your standard or regular size Traveler's Notebooks. So good for that. It also comes with an extra binder clip. Again, always nice to have handy. It comes with a pen that does not write. I wish they had not included this. They could have skipped the pen, knocked it down a couple dollars, saved us, but they didn't. They included this really pointless pen. Sorry, Eaasty, the pen doesn't work. I was doing the measurements here and it was just very scratchy. I tried some sketching. I tried to just get it going and it will not. It does have refill potential, but I'm not sure why you would want to do that because the build quality is just not great. It's not comfortable. Pointless pen. And then you have a pen loop. The pen loop has different leather that is not even remotely the same as the Traveler's Notebook that it comes with. Some people find these to be wonderful, and if you do, you'll like that this is in the bundle. I personally do not like these pen loops because they tend to move around too much for my taste, or if you put them on the TN, they leave a mark. I don't like that. So they're not my favorite thing, but if you like to have a couple of these hanging around, there you go, it's in the bundle. What else is included in the bundle? Well, we have the Traveler's Notebook itself, and we'll talk a lot about that in a moment. But we open it up and they also included a folder. I don't use these very much. They're a little awkward for me to put in my TN, which I like to be a little bit more tight and flush, but it's there and it has secretarial pockets on the left and the right, and these little punches pop out and you can put cards in them or stickers or whatever. And then it also comes with a pretty nice, actually, card pocket holder. So you get 1, 2, 3 on this side, 1, 2, 3 on that side. So 6 card pocket holders. And then on the back, you have a zipper pocket, which is a little tight. Honestly, I don't know, it wasn't cut that great, but it will open. And then you can pop stickers, receipts, little notes, whatever inside here. And this can be used either to turn your Traveler's Notebook into a full-on wallet, or I like to use it to put in things like family pictures, little inspiring notes. So lots of things you can do with one of these. And this one looks to be fairly good quality. It's cut out here and here so that it'll fit nicely around one of your inserts and have room for the bands to move around. The only thing, again, is that as I pull this across, it is a little tight, but it'll probably loosen up the more that I use it. And then we have 3 inserts, and you want to look at the description more closely than I did, because I thought it was going to be one of those that had 1 blank, 1 ruled, and 1 dot grid, which is kind of common with these bundles. But this one actually has 3 dot grid, and I personally am not a dot grid user, so I probably won't be using these. I will find them a good home. But there are 3, and they are staple bound. They have square corners. I personally prefer rounded corners, so I have a nice, good quality corner rounder to do that myself. But otherwise, they're just, you know, very typical inserts. But the traveler's notebook itself is the highlight of the bundle, and it's what we're here for. So let's talk about how it has a leather that, again, is almost identical to what Newestor or September leather uses. It's a very smooth leather that's like an espresso bean kind of a color, or dark chocolate. It's like a dark chocolate covered almond. And then when you kind of push it like this and see the pickup, that's almost like a dark cherry color. Very, very subtle, but there's a little bit of a red to that pickup. Then we have stitching, which is fine on the front, but when I open it up, I see that there are some loose stitches here in the corners. So if you're looking for perfection, this probably isn't it, but I think it'll hold up pretty well. Then it has a reinforced spine, which is always a plus with traveler's notebooks for me. It has the knot on the spine instead of on the back cover, like a traveler's company traveler's notebook has. So again, that's a plus. I like it when the knot is in the spine. And elastic, fine for the closure. You open it up, and this is always a good thing for me. It has 4 bands. That means that when you put your inserts inside, they can sit next to each other and they don't have to jostle for position like when you only have 1 band. So great, great, great 4 bands. Then you have pockets. You have a folio pocket here, 3 card pockets, some nice little scallop design, which gives it a little bit of an artistic flair. And then over here on the right, you have another folio pocket with the scallop design and a pen loop. And that's about it. So if you've been in the traveler's notebook world for more than 5 minutes, you probably already know about the Newestor or September leather traveler's notebooks, and they're fantastic for what they are. So you can grab these on Amazon, and I think you can actually get them on Etsy where they've been like engraved for you. So I'll put a link to both. But the difference here is twofold. There are 2 main differences. Number 1 is the size. So the height is exactly the same. It is 8 11/16 inches tall for both of them. That is 220 millimeters, okay? Then we open it up, and the September leather or Newestor is just a little bit wider. So you can get more things. You can get true A5 notebooks in the September leather Newestor, but the Eaasty is just a little bit more narrow, and that cuts out some of the inserts that I would think about using. I can't use because it's tighter. So the measurement differences here for the September leather Newestor, it is, I think it's 13 13/16. Got that across? 13 13/16. And then the Eaasty here is 13 5/16 of an inch, or 344 millimeters. So your difference is a 1/2 inch. It's a 1/2 inch shorter. And that makes a difference when we talk about what you can put inside. So the Newestor or September leather, you can get away with pretty much anything that is advertised as A5. You can get a lot of different inserts that are meant to be traveler's notebook inserts, so they're thinner like this, but you can also get things like a Stylogy 365 or a Leuchtturm 1917, or even up to like a Hobonichi Techo cousin. Those will all fit inside the Newestor or September leather because it is wide enough. The Eaasty, being a little bit tighter, has a couple things that I wouldn't use. First of all, on the more narrow end, one thing that I would not use is a moleskin or moleskine or moleskina, however you'd like to pronounce it is fine with me. A moleskin large size, this is a kaye that's meant to be an insert, and these are actually too narrow. They're only like 5 1/8 of an inch. And what happens is you stack a couple of these in here, or you get a regular size Moleskine Classic, a large, like a daily planner or a Moleskine expanded notebook. Any of those are going to be that same, like 5 1/8 of an inch. And however you put them in here, you're going to have this really big gap. And although that's nice because it gives you room for your tabs and things like that, plenty of room for that pen loop, the problem is when you open the notebook, usually I like to hold it like this and write. And when the insert is too narrow, I have to reach my hand too far. It's actually annoying. So I like it when the notebooks come a little bit further over like this, and then I can more naturally hold on to it while I'm writing and keep it in place as I write. So I think that the Moleskines are too narrow. But what you can put in is something like, this is from Erin Condren. They have these like Petite notebooks, Petite journals, and those are more like 5 1/2 inches wide, and those will fit just fine. You could stack those up. You could also stack something like a Newestor Jot book, which is just shy of a normal A5. So that works well. And of course you can have inserts from other companies. So Wanderings makes A5 inserts, and Twone, Twone, they make A5 inserts. I like Wanderings better because they are acid free and they take watercolor exceptionally well. And then the Twone are nice because they're FSC certified, but they are not acid free. So the Twone are better for things like grocery lists that you don't need to hold up over time. Whereas if you're going to be more artful and make something that's going to be, you know, kept and handed down, then I would choose Wanderings because it's acid free. But anyway, all of these that measure 5 1/2 inches wide are going to be absolutely fine. You can stack up several of them and make a really nice notebook. The other thing that you should be able to get away with is something like one Stalogy 365 put in here like this. And you say, well, why would I use a TN when I'm only going to have one insert? I'm not going to have multiple stacked up on a band. Well, it's handy because you can turn your Stalogy into a wallet. You know, now you've got, you know, card pockets, you've got folders, you've got a pen loop, and it just makes it a more useful notebook to have this whole kind of system. So you can fit a Stalogy 365 full year in here, A5 size, and your pen loop will go like this. And if you're like me, I like to put my pens on backwards like this. And then you wrap around your closure, and that works just fine for a Stalogy 365 full year A5 or a Newestor 1917 hardcover. That works just fine. Same thing. Pull the pen loop like that. It sits flush. You've even got room for some tabs if you'd like. But there's a line that you can't cross. If you go even a smidge wider than a true A5, then it doesn't fit comfortably. So these are from Jotsome. They have these beautiful little traveler's notebook inserts that have very, very pretty covers, just plain ruled inside. Very simple little notebooks, but they're too wide. If you stack these up, then you don't have anywhere for the pen loop to rest, and you don't have room for tabs or anything. So these are too wide. And believe it or not, a Hobonichi Techo cousin is really cutting it close. Once you pull your pen loop over here, it tends to stick out more. There's not as much room for tabs. So that's a Hobonichi Techo. This is an Avec, the half year, same thing. This is the Han, which is almost like a hardcover on a Hobonichi. And it's because of that hardcover, the way it sticks out, now your pen loop is really popping out. And then also the SUNY Daily Planner, same thing. That hardcover just comes a little bit too far and the pen loop won't even kind of rest. So I would stick with true A5s or narrower, but not as narrow as a moleskin. And so what you want is something, the happy place is like 5.5 inches wide to like 5 3/4 inches wide. Okay. If you have something that is wider, like a Hobonichi, then you'd want to go with the September leather or Newestor because you get an extra 1/2 inch, which really does make a difference. So with the Hobonichi, you pop it in like this, and there's room for your pen loop to sit flush, and you still have room for tabs if you get the Newestor. That extra 1/2 inch makes a big difference. One more difference between these two is the pen loop. On the September leather or Newestor, the pen loop is notoriously floppy. So when I put these in here backwards, my pen just kind of, it tends to move around more than I would like. But on the Eaasty, it's nice and stiff. So it's not as likely to just kind of flail around as I open the notebook. So stiffer pen loop on the Eaasty. Thank you for joining me on this little tour of this new traveler's notebook that's available on Amazon. If you'd like to see more journaling, watercolor, planning, anything to do with making your paper look pretty, then please come back and see me again. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff so that the algorithm brings you back to me. Thank you and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.